The trouble they got into, you have no idea. Pat used to wrap her Christmas presents. They were works of art, and she would spend days on these Christmas presents. You didn't want to open them, and one day I answered the phone and I said, "Mom, come quick, Pat is sobbing, something is very wrong." Well, when they were about this big, their babysitter, Bobby Barker, fell asleep, and they got up in the attic, and they opened every single present, and they strode the paper and ribbon all over the house, and it was just November, and they were playing with their toys. And that kind of was just the beginning. My mother and Pat were raised together in Walled Hill, and my mother tells the story of when Pat was a very tiny baby. She had casts on her legs, and she couldn't be held like a normal baby. So they would sit my mother down in a chair and put a pillow on her lap, because she was like 4 or 5 years older than Pat, and that she could hold Pat. Well, as Pat changes the story, my mother was much older and walked around the house carrying her on the pillow, at which there was some umbrage taken at the story, if you know my mom. My mother had a double name when she was growing up, and she was known by Jean Ann, and she went to college, and she wanted to be Jean Ann. She didn't want to be Jean. So she was Jean all through college, moves back to Pender, Pat moves here, and within 2 weeks she has the whole town calling my mother Jean Ann again. And she said, "Really? What is with this?" When I first met Pat, it was just Pat and Ron and Walled Hill, and Dre was, as she would like to say, a little bug, which was a term that she used a lot. And when they came to Pender, it was wonderful for us. My mom and dad and I got little boys in our family, that, as being an only child, which I hadn't had, and it was wonderful. Prior to Matt's birth, it became apparent that Matt would perhaps be born during the World Series. Now, there were some tense times in the Samuelson household, not because Ron wasn't focused on this baby, but he needed to be fully focused on his sporting events, and I'm sure that you all can appreciate that. The Samuelson house was like a second home to me, and I loved being with Pat because she taught me how to love and do big holidays, big Christmases, big trees, packages, paper mache, turkeys, hand-painted Easter eggs. I think I was the beneficiary. I don't think Matt and Dre were much interested in those kinds of things, and Pat loved to do that, and I loved to go there and do them with her. Has anybody here ever been hugged by Pat Samuelson? You know, you knew it was coming, and as my father, who was a big man, said, you just put your feet down and brace, because it's gonna be big and you're not gonna avoid it. And if you try, she said, I'll just hug you all the harder. And that was kind of Pat's life. She was exuberant and loving and cared about people, cared what happened to them. The only time I think I've heard negative words came out of her mouth was when somebody did or said something that was bad about her boys, and that includes Ron. She loved her family, and we loved her. When I would call Pat, I would always picture Ron all these last 18 years. To me, he was sitting in his chair with her, watching whatever game was on TV. I still see them that way, and I still think that's how they will be. I saw a Bible verse out in the narthex of the church. It was Psalm 91, verse 11, for he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go. I always think people that I love that have gone are up there protecting us. And I think she and Ron and Nanny and Pop are up there doing it for Matt and Dre and all of the other people that they loved. I think the most profound verse in the New Testament in Christianity is John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever should believe in him should not perish, but have eternal life. And I really do believe that. And I really do believe there are lots of people that we've all known and grown up together that are up there and rejoined at last, and Nanny and Pop and Ron, and we miss Pat. We don't miss her for the life that she had endured, but we miss her for the wonderful presence that she was in our lives. Thank you.